Hey guys, my name is Gegee and today I will present you Gegee's weekly news. Let's start with listing the topics that we're going to discuss today. First of all, we have China's new language policy in Inner Mongolia that's been sparking major uproar everywhere. Secondly, we're going to discuss the parliamentary task force on cutting interest rate to 1% by the end of 2023. And thirdly, we're going to discuss about the World Bank to granting a financing of $21 million to Mongolia. How great is that? And last but not least, we're going to talk about the Braille Atlas, the first ever Braille Atlas being printed in Mongolia for the first time ever. Buckle up your seatbelts because we're in for a ride. So as you guys know, we're going to discuss 4 different topics today. And the first one is indeed a negative one. And it is the only negative news that I'm going to include today. It's a negative because it gravely concerns me. It's a negative because it indeed impacts the Inner Mongolian population that is having their language being erased from the marks of history and books. There have been several protests in the Inner Mongolian Autonomous Region as the news of Mandarin Chinese replacing Mongolian in elementary and middle schools have greatly embarked a chaos in the country as the fear of cultural assimilation continues to unravel. The change is deemed to affect 3 school subjects over the next 3 years, and it will indeed negatively affect 4.2 million ethnic Mongolians. Mass protests in Inner Mongolia, referred to as Southern Mongolians by ethnic rights and independence groups, have revealed the depth of fear that the Mongolian language would assimilate ethnic minorities into Chinese Han culture. To prevent this from happening, many Mongolians, 100,000 to be exact, have signed petition or are in the process of signing it. Personally speaking, I did indeed sign the petition, as I urge you, the viewer, to do so as well, as this petition will ask the White House to call on Congress to act on this issue immediately. So I strongly encourage the people who are viewing this right now to take part in preserving our Mongolian language. Yeah. Next up, a parliamentary task force led by lawmaker Gegee submitted a draft strategy on August 20th to cut loan interest rate and loan source costs to Speaker of Parliament Gegee. The strategy aims to cut the loan interest rate through 4 directions, which are to reduce rate of financial source for loans, which accounts for 60% of loan interest rate. Secondly, it will reduce banking costs, which account for whopping 17% of loan interest rate. Thirdly, it will reduce credit risk costs, which account for 11% of loan interest rate. And fourthly, the strategy will aim to develop the Mongolian financial market and intensify trading activities through the stock exchange. Gegee said that through the strategy, the banking law will be revised to make banks into stock companies, whilst also imposing a 20% stake cap for shareholders and trade the remaining 80% through the stock exchange. This will help banks raise their capital and create a supervisory system. Continuing on, we're going to discuss about the World Bank granting a financing of $21 million to Mongolia. So on September 7th, the Minister of Finance Gegee and World Bank country manager for Mongolia, Mr. Andrei Michnyo, signed 2 financing agreements of $21 million. The $20 million soft loan will be spent on the implementation of the Emergency Support and Employment Project, as to the $1 million will be solely devoted to the health sector of Mongolia. The loan has a 30-year long term with an annual interest of 1.25% and a moratorium period of 5 years. Mr. Andre Mihnyo has greatly emphasized that the $1 million is being granted to Mongolia from the program being realized by the World Bank amidst the pandemic, while the soft loan of $20 million will be dedicated to the social protection sector of Mongolia. This is great news, especially to Mongolia, who has greatly indeed been affected by this pandemic. And yeah, that is a great positive news. Yeah. In order for us to end this week's news on a positive note, a National Braille Atlas was created for the visually impaired people for the first time in Mongolia, with the help of the Ministry of Construction and Urban Development and the Agency for Land Management. On September 1st, the Braille Atlases were presented to the authorities of school number 116th, the only school for the visually impaired children in Mongolia. The atlas shows the borders of 21 amaks, the capital city, Sums, rivers, lakes, and their names. For the blind, the linear elements of the atlas are embossed and names are written in Braille, while for the visually impaired people, it is depicted with wide dashes and capital letters. This is definitively a great note to end this week's news segment, Gegee's Weekly News.